Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Delos Santos. Let's go straight to our top story. The government has released new quarantine classifications for the month, with Metro Manila downgraded to general community quarantine starting September 8th. Now, despite a more relaxed blanket restriction in NCR, there will be granular lockdowns piloted in select areas in the region. The National Task Force is finalizing the parameters to be used in determining which areas are to be placed under granular lockdown. The pending guidelines will also indicate as to what extent mobility will be restricted in LGUs under granular lockdown. Now, the more transmissible Delta variant is now present across all regions in the country. This comes after the Health Department reports 279 additional Delta cases today, bringing the total caseload of the variant to over 2,000. Of the new reported infections of the Delta variant, 245 are local cases, 21 are returning Filipinos, while 13 are still being verified. NCR logged the highest number of new infections at 51. Meanwhile, 35 were from Calabarzon, 24 from Central Luzon, 22 from Northern Mindanao, and 19 from Bicol. Given those additional Delta variant cases, health experts are split over the next move in terms of lockdown. Let's get the latest from Greg Gregorio. He's joining us live. Greg, what are experts saying about this?
Just if you ask the health department, they're saying nothing is final yet in terms of the planned granular lockdown. They say guidelines are being finalized as we speak, but the DOH insists wide-scale restrictions simply are not working anymore. The DOH has insisted that it's still a matter of balancing health safety and the economy. Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres says LGUs would likely know more about their situation on the ground. She says the national government will aid in setting up guidelines and for industries under this planned granular approach by public health. But public health advocate Dr. Tony Liachon says it's not the time now to experiment given the rising COVID cases. Octa Research Fellow Professor Guido David also says it's not clear if a granular lockdown will help cause a downward trend in cases. Just both Dr. Liachon and Professor Guido is also at arms against the planned lifting of the travel ban on several countries. But the health department insists incoming travelers will still undergo 14-day quarantine and RT-PCR testing on the seventh day. Jess?
Okay, the lifting of travel ban, of course, one other issue that we have to keep an eye on. But again, we're still in wait and see mode regarding those guidelines. Thank you for that update, Greg Gregorio. Now, given all these developments, given all these developments, we head straight to our winners and losers for the day, where you see some of our mall operators and retailers leading gains for the local indexes. They are expected again to benefit from looser restrictions here in Metro Manila. Jollibee, for one, takes top honors here, rising as much as 2.7%. Again, Jollibee, as you can see right here, leading the pack here for our leaders and laggards. Stock so far today is at 206 pesos a piece. It climbed as much as 3.7% earlier today after reports again that NCR mobility curbs in NCR will be relaxed. Mall operators, Ayala Land, not far behind with a 2.1% increase to 33 pesos and 80 centavos. Bloomberry, the country's biggest casino operator, also in the green, as you can see right here, inching higher by 0.6%. But those gains, not across the board. Food manufacturer URC declined today by 1.6%. Same goes for the country's biggest mall operator, SM Prime, as well as other developers like Robinson's Land and Mega World, all retreating in Monday's trade. Retailer Pure Gold also slid by 8%. Now, they joined the sell-off in the main index, which for today fell 0.3% to 6,877. That's despite foreign investors buying into local stocks for the second day in a row at a net purchase of 263.1 million pesos. One stock, though, that made huge leaps today is Pacific Online. Why is that? Well, the stock jumped as much as 27%, its biggest climb yet in 9 months. That's after it bagged a contract from the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office for a new lottery system that's worth 5.8 billion pesos, a formal deal of which will be inked once necessary performance security is met. But Lotto, as you can see, still in the green, but pared back those gains. Still not bad to finish at 2 pesos and 23 centavos a piece, higher by 13.8%. And lastly, a quick check on our local currency, the peso, weakening earlier in the day ahead of announcements regarding Metro Manila's fate. So far, though, the peso somehow strengthening a touch from its fall earlier, but still on the downside here, now at 49 spot 860 to the greenback. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. One other sector that could benefit from a bakuna bubble is domestic tourism. That's according to entrepreneurship advisor Joey Concepcion. Now, he tells Agenda that giving more leeway for fully vaccinated travelers and requiring them still to present a negative swab test result could help local tourism. Concepcion says that if the move works for other industries, it could certainly be used to boost domestic travel. Again, that was entrepreneurship advisor Joey Concepcion telling One News's Agenda basically that if the bubble concept works for the retail sector, then it can certainly work for domestic tourism as well. Now, moving on to other stories, analysts say that inflation likely quickened in August and settled above the Banco Central's official target range. A Businessworld poll of 16 analysts yielded a median estimate of 4.4% for August inflation, nearer the lower end of the 4.1 to 4.9% estimate given by the BSP. If realized, headline inflation would breach the central bank's 2 to 4% annual target range after slowing to 4% in July. It will also be the quickest in 3 months or since the 4.5% recorded in May. Analysts say the weaker peso likely affected imports of raw materials for basic commodities, which in turn led to a faster rise in the CPI in August. The PSA will release August inflation data tomorrow. Government borrowings more than doubled in July to more than 337 billion pesos from 134.5 billion pesos in the same month a year ago. This brings the 7-month borrowings to 2.27 trillion pesos, higher by 22% from the same period in 2020. Over 53% of the borrowings in July came from local sources, while the rest were sourced externally. As of end July, the country's outstanding debt stock stood at 11.61 trillion pesos. Philippine Airlines is confident that it can exit bankruptcy within the year. We'll give you more details after the break. And you're still watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jess Dos Santos. Philippine Airlines heads to bankruptcy court in New York this week to defend its proposal. The embattled airline says it can emerge from bankruptcy within the year. Pamela Vasquez has a story.
Proceedings in the U.S. are ongoing, but already the airline's executives said they're confident they can exit bankruptcy before 2021 is up. The executive spoke to us from New York, where they will face a judge later this week and defend their proposal.
So once we exit before the end of the year, we're done. We will have a lighter balance sheet, we will have new capital, and our cost structure will be a lot lighter. So we will be done before the end of the year.
Its goal is to get out of some $2 billion in borrowings that it's unable to pay off. PAL does not expect to cut any more jobs beyond the 2,300 that was announced back in March. But it will have to return some 22 aircraft and let go of some long-haul routes.
We will end up with 70 or 71, 70 aircraft. And 70 aircraft, of the 22 aircraft that were returned, a good number of them were wide bodies, Airbuses and Boeings, and a few narrow bodies and one or two turboprops.
Analysts approve of the flag carrier's plan, saying it will ensure the survival of both the airline and the Philippine aviation industry.
And I think once this gets implemented, it's going to signal to the world that the aviation industry of the Philippines is able to bounce back. This is going to be a good template for distressed firms.
Still, PAL doesn't expect to see pre-pandemic travel volumes again until 2024 at the earliest.
We don't foresee demand coming back to pre-pandemic levels until 2024, 2025. And at that point in time, we don't believe we will be at what our size was, so more than 3 billion in revenue.
The airline stresses that nothing will change for customers, and all tickets, travel vouchers, and Mabuhay Miles benefits will continue to be honored. I am Pamela Vasquez and we are One News.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, September 6, 2021. Catch Business World Live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jess Dos Santos and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.